everybody. February 15th board meeting. I would like to remind everyone that this is being live streamed. Also, I'd like to make the acknowledgement. The Rainbow District School Board would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Anishinaabeg, including Atingmaching, Anishinaabeg, and Wahnapitae nations. We would like to acknowledge that we are situated within the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 and want to recognize the inherent rights of the Anishinaabeg that maintain these lands from time immemorial. I'd like to start off with A, that the agenda of the regular board meeting February 15th, 2022 be approved. I need a mover, please. Margaret?
No mic, Chair Clement.
Pardon?
No mic. You didn't have a mic on.
Chair Clement,
Bob,
I think you have a mover.
Right after you got the mover, that's when your mic went off.
No, finger problems. Okay, the seconder is Dina, and we need a poll vote. Director Bourget?
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee Dubosky, Trustee Dewar,
In favor?
Trustee Gibson,
My apologies, Director Bourget. Is this the vote for the agenda? I had difficulty getting in, so I was a minute late.
yes it
Is
is.
this... Okay, in favor.
Thank you. Trustee Hunda, Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor?
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean,
In favor.
Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao.
In favor.
It's carried.
Thank you,
Ex-
Director Bourget. Yes.
Excuse me, point of order. Could I suggest that we go back and have a roll call, please?
Okay, we can do that. Director Bourget?
Trustee Dubosky, Trustee St. Jean,
Present.
Trustee Gibson,
Present.
Trustee Cosmerly,
Present.
Trustee Morrison,
Present.
Trustee Dewar,
Present.
Trustee Hunda, Trustee Stringer,
Present.
Trustee Clement,
Present.
Student Trustee Yao.
Present.
All good. Thank you. In the agenda, we go to B, preliminary declaration of pecuniary interests. Do I see any? I do not. We'll go to C, presentations, strategic directions presentation, Director Bourget.
Thank you, Chair Clement. We'll have a presentation come up on your screen in just one moment. So good evening, trustees. In October of 2021, we began a journey to develop a new strategic plan for the Rainbow District School Board. You will recall that when I came to you to talk about the importance of renewing our vision, mission, values, and priorities in order to provide focus and purpose to our work over the next 5 years. And a plan was shared with you to engage our stakeholders in the process. We've reached a milestone in this journey, and this evening I'm pleased to present a draft of the strategic directions for your approval. This is extremely important work that we all engaged in together, and this will guide our decision-making going forward. Before I present the proposed vision, mission, values, and priorities, I'd like to provide some context for this work. Bill 177, the Student Achievement and School Board Governance Act of 2009, amended the Education Act to require that school boards create a multi-year strategic plan. In Rainbow District School Board, this mandate is embedded in the governance policies of the Board of Trustees. Governance Policy 1, Vision, Mission, Values, has been developed to identify the board's vision, to describe the role or mission the board sees itself fulfilling, and to state the values that Rainbow District School Board embraces. This policy also sets out board priorities for the district. This policy is a public statement of intent and the governing principles of the board. Administrative procedures and all board activities must be consistent with the board's vision, mission, and values. Governance Policy 2, Strategic Directions for Rainbow District School Board, has been developed to reflect the commitment of our board for continuous improvement and to make a public statement of the intent and governing principles of the board. This policy has also been established to fulfill the board's duties and powers under the Education Act to develop a multi-year plan aimed at achieving the board's goals. As required by legislation, Rainbow District School Board must develop and have in place a multi-year plan. This supports our vision, mission, and values, and will promote student achievement and well-being, positive school climate, effective appropriate education programs for all, and stewardship of the board's resources. As per this governance document 02, the multi-year plan is used in a variety of ways, including providing direction to the Board of Trustees and administration when making decisions, providing direction that informs the allocation of our resources, and clarity and focus as we motivate ourselves and our staff by giving purpose to our day-to-day responsibilities. Strategic Directions, therefore, is a very important document for us. It's important because it reflects who we are, what we do, and what we value. It's a roadmap to move forward and achieve results with students at the center of our decision-making. Strategic Directions articulates our vision, mission, and values for the board and for all of our schools. It establishes clear directions by identifying priorities, and the vision brings us together to work towards a common goal. A strong vision connects to fundamental needs in our heart to make a difference each day. Our mission is our purpose. It's a clear statement of why we exist. Values are the enduring beliefs that ground us and guide us. Values are the very foundation of our culture. Priorities are the areas that will receive attention to enable us to realize our vision. Putting our priorities into focus ensures that we allocate resources to the initiatives that matter the most. So as you see, we have our vision, our mission, our values, and our priorities, and this is our framework. Just a quick review. Our consultation meetings began on November 1st with the Student Senate and continued with the Special Education Advisory Committee, leaders in our community, teachers, and the Equity and Inclusive Education Committee. Consultations were held with the 21st Century Learning Committee, our First Nations Advisory Committee, and school councils. School councils were grouped by family of schools in all of our geographic areas, and we also extended invitations to all of our First Nation communities to share their input. We invited our community partners and our union federation leaders to also engage in the process. A meeting was also held with the Parent Involvement Committee. Many of these parents and guardians I had the pleasure of meeting during conversations when I met with our school council members by family of schools. And of course, so pleased that all of our trustees became members of our ad hoc committee. And we held a meeting with this committee prior to the winter break to share the results to date. And all the members of our ad hoc committee were also invited to complete a survey. In addition, we met with our administrators and our executive council after the break and invited all participants to complete a survey as well. A follow-up meeting of the ad hoc committee of trustees was held to review those results and gather even more feedback. We held further consultations with elders and an Indigenous education support staff member. And the ad hoc committee of the trustees worked in small and large groups to achieve consensus on a vision, establish a mission, decide on values and priorities for this presentation tonight to the board. So in all, during our consultation sessions, we listened to all voices, we learned from all voices, we imagined our future together, and we engaged with each other. In addition, each consultation session that we had was followed by an opportunity to share more feedback by completing a survey. A survey link was sent to all participants after each meeting, and I'd like to thank all of the students, staff, administrators, parents, guardians, First Nation communities, education partners for all participating and helping in our engagement process and providing feedback to us. I had many conversations with people and welcomed the dialogue and exchange of ideas, and it was very gratifying to see the support for Rainbow Schools and the students in our care. So at the result of all of our work, the proposed vision will look familiar to you, because through our survey work and our discussions, there was enormous support for maintaining our vision statement, which reads, "We are leaders in learning, inspiring success for all students by reaching minds and touching hearts." And we're recommending that we maintain this vision due to that overwhelming support during our consultations. Our mission statement was a collection of work from all of the feedback we received, put before our ad hoc committee, and our ad hoc committee worked in groups to provide this proposed mission statement. Together, we prepare students to become lifelong learners, achieving their full potential as confident, caring members of society. And this really does capture the why of our work in education. Here's just a little visual of the vision and mission statements together. Next, we have our proposed values: humility, bravery, honesty, wisdom, truth, respect, and love. The 7 grandfather teachings, as suggested by an elder through consultations, braided together with other values we established throughout our process, which became resilience, equity, and community, all established through our discussions as an ad hoc committee based on the feedback we received. Here are our proposed priorities: student success and achievement, literacy and numeracy, truth and reconciliation, mental health and well-being, environmental education and sustainability, and equity and inclusive education. It was very heartening to know and see that these priorities came to the forefront among all the groups that we're consulting with and surveyed. Regardless of the group, whether it be the ad hoc committee, our teaching staff, our executive council, community groups, education partners, when survey results came in, these priorities consistently rose to the top in a uniform way. So we feel very good about these priorities going forward. And they also have a very strong alignment with the Ministry Board Equity and Inclusion Plan, which will be coming more information in the spring. So when we look at our piece here, we have some next steps. Once strategic directions is approved, we'll embark on a communications campaign to share the plan with our staff, students, parents, guardians, and school communities. And it's important work because budget consultations, which have started, will align with the priorities and strategic directions for the next 5 years. With your approval of strategic directions, we continue to move forward as we commit to succeed with students at the center of decision making. Also included in your backup was a board report on this, which will have the written motion that's before you. So this evening, Chair Clement, I'm respectfully requesting your approval to proceed, and we have a recommended motion for you. This is for the board's consideration tonight. The motion reads that the vision, mission, values, and priorities of the Rainbow District School Board, as presented in Strategic Directions 2022 to 2027, be approved. This will be a decision of the board, and Chair Clement, I turn this over to you for mover and seconder and discussion.
Thank you, Director Bourget. It has been a while. We've been working very hard, and now we have the motion in front of us. I'd like a mover, please. Judy Cosmerly. and Doreen Dewar, seconder, sorry. A poll vote, oh, sorry, before we go there, any discussions, please? Judy?
Just one comment through you, Chair Clement, to the director. Thank you for your leadership in this, Director Bourget. You've done an incredible job, and I know you've thanked everyone else, but you deserve a big thanks as well for all of the work you've done, bringing everyone together and putting in place a wonderful strategic direction for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy, for those words. I'm sure that it reflects everybody's thoughts. We do appreciate this. Is there any other questions? I see none. A poll vote, please, Director Bourget.
Trustee Clement?
Fully in favor.
Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Hunda? Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee Morrison?
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean?
In favor.
Trustee Stringer?
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao?
In favor.
Chair Clement's unanimous.
Thank you very much. That is nice to see.
Thank you. And we have just one more comment as part of our presentation.
Yes.
To all of you, Chair Clement and all trustees, I'd like to thank you for your support and your leadership. Strategic directions will be the compass that guides us as we move forward. And on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank all of our stakeholders as well for embarking on this journey with us. We value the input, and we look forward to continued collaboration as together we prepare students to become lifelong learners, achieving their full potential as confident, caring members of our society. As always, it's a privilege to serve the board. This was a tremendous learning experience for me, and I value all of our discussions and the teamwork that we showed as an ad hoc group. It really was inspiring to see your leadership and your support, so I thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Director Bourget. I'm sure I say for all of us, we appreciate all the work you put into also, and all your staff. And what I really enjoyed about our part was the breakout rooms. That was fun. It got us to meet together. It was a lot of fun. So we're going to go to D now. A report from in-camera committees of the whole board of the board, and I see none. E, old business, I see none. We'll go to E1. Motion that the minutes of the regular board meeting held on Tuesday, January 25th, 2022 be approved. I need a mover, please. Dina Morrison. And seconder, Doreen Dewar. Poll vote, Director, please.
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Hunda? Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee Morrison?
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean?
In favor.
Trustee Stringer?
In favor.
And Student Trustee Yao.
In favor.
It's carried.
Thank you, Director Bourget. Now we'll go to number 2, and that'll be the 2021-2022 school year calendar update. Director?
Thank you, Chair Clement. Trustees, we've been living and learning with COVID-19 for 2 years now, and the pandemic has reinforced the important values that we adopted this evening. Humility, bravery, honesty, wisdom, truth, respect, love, resilience, equity, and community. Each value on its own can be applied to this collective experience that we have all been living, not only here at home, but around the world. We've certainly demonstrated bravery in the face of uncertainty and resilience in the face of change. Only recently have we begun to ease our way back into some sense of normalcy while we continue to follow public health guidance. The data is trending in the right direction, and this provides optimism and hope. Our biggest step so far has been the return to 4 periods per day in our secondary schools. A letter was sent to parents and guardians on January 24th to advise that after consulting with public health sub-region districts, secondary schools students would resume their regular timetables in semester 2, which began on Monday, February 7th. Certainly want to thank our students, staff, and families for their patience and support while the modified schedule was in effect. Some very quick updates. You see on your screen a summary of case counts and vaccination rates. You see the high volume of cases during that period of time in January. You also see the high number of active cases during that time. And you see that the vaccination rate continued to increase a little bit week by week. And here's a graph of those rates as of January 26th. You'll also recall that we surveyed our families to determine who would like to transfer between in-person and remote learning. This was a commitment we made in the fall. Not surprisingly, given the context of case counts in the community when the survey was administered, we saw a net increase in the requests to move to remote learning. The number of remote learners for the fall was 4.1% for elementary and 3.4% for secondary students. However, after our survey, and due to the climate of the time, the numbers climbed to 7.7% in elementary, in secondary, and 7.3 in elementary. This is approximately double of what we had. Still a small percentage of our total students, but as you can appreciate, the shift required a significant reorganization system-wide within a very short window of time in both panels, as the requests for transfers were for various grades, various students, various pathways across the board. In secondary, the timetabling work was done, and the staffing we were able to reallocate from the existing complemented resulted in no hybrid learning, which we're very happy about because we did have to utilize that at one point, but by far and away having dedicated teachers in remote is our preferred way to go for those students, and having a dedicated face-to-face classroom is also our preference. And we get that feedback from our administrators, from our families, and from our staff. So this was what we were able to accomplish. And it was no small feat. By any means, this was a difficult task. I'd like to acknowledge our school administrators, office staff, who accommodated the changes in their schools. I'd also like to thank Superintendent Noble, Student Success Principal Heather Gaffney, Michelle Henschel, for their expertise and tremendous amount of time in scheduling work, for making the secondary timetable. Dominic Druin, our Assistant Manager of Information Services, Hilary Sanch for their technical support, and Principal Caruso Pernell for her expanding work to make the virtual school grow in such a short period of time, and the leadership of Superintendent Fisher supporting many of these initiatives as well. And I'd also like to thank Tiffany Hayes, our Senior Administrator of Human Resources, for ensuring we reallocated staff within existing budgets. Changes took effect on February 7th and will remain in effect until the end of June. And at this time, we've not received confirmation from the ministry that school boards will be required to offer a remote option for next year. School boards have been asking the ministry for guidance so we can plan our staffing allocations accordingly. Also on January 27th, OFSA, the Ontario Federation of Schools Athletic Association, Executive Council released a statement that advising they were canceling the 2022 Winter Championships scheduled for February and March. This was considered because of the late start and return to in-person learning, some uncertainty about the status of some of the sports, and when a full slate of activities may resume. So that decision was made because there's considerable planning that goes to hosting one of these championships. And you'll remember in the fall we had the pure delight of meeting our junior girls cross-country champions from Manitoulin and our junior boys cross-country champions from Llewellyn, and they highlighted the amazing experience they had, and we're saddened that our winter sports athletes don't have the same opportunity, but we are very hopeful for the spring. So we'll see that, there's some optimism that spring championships will go ahead as scheduled beginning in May, maybe with badminton, we hope. Won't go through all the numbers here, but here were some numbers heading into the beginning of February. You did see a decrease from the previous slide in the number of cases, still large amounts in active and new cases, and seeing that there was 53% of 5 to 11-year-olds having received dose 1. Here's a graph of the vaccination rates as of February 2nd. Public Health, Sudbury and Districts also held a PD Day vaccination clinic for families at Science North on Friday, February 4th, and there's going to be another one on Science North on Family Day on February 21st. Public Health is also reminding the community to continue following health and safety measures, including masking, physical distancing, staying home when sick, and, as they suggest, getting vaccinated as soon as possible. Multiple layers of protection are required against COVID-19 and its variants. Also, as an update, on February 4th, the Ministry of Health released a revised school screening tool. Previously, there were 2 screening tools, one for children and students, and another for staff and visitors. Now there's only one for schools and childcare settings that applies to everyone. Updates to the screening tool include guidance for individuals who recently tested positive, guidance on isolation when household contacts are positive, and individuals who were previously positive within 90 days would not need to extend their isolation period or isolate once again when a household contact was positive. All students and staff are required to screen for COVID-19 daily and follow the guidance in the screener, and we continually remind people to scroll all the way down because the information that's presented after the result of the screening tool is very important about next steps. Our message has been very simple, and we say it with the greatest respect. But if you are sick, we ask people to stay home. And if people are well, we can't wait to see you at school. But when in doubt, please wait it out for the safety of everyone. On February 7th, we received a letter from the local medical officer of health indicating that she had reviewed the enhanced health and safety measures implemented at the local level for alignment with the most recent provincial guidance. And the local letters of instruction were subsequently rescinded, which means there are no additional local protective measures currently in place, only the provincial guidance, which we continue to follow. The need for students to wear masks outdoors as an enhanced measure was introduced by Public Health when our local case counts grew, and with the local enhanced measures no longer in effect, we advised our families that students are not required to wear masks outdoors while cohorted unless they choose to do so. Masks do remain mandatory, as according to Public Health, for indoor settings. The Ministry of Education also advised school boards on February 10th that schools will be allowed to resume high-contact sports and activities effective immediately. All individuals participating in extracurricular sports and high-contact, high-intensity activities will be required to wear a mask while on school premises, but may temporarily remove the mask for active participation in these activities. And you see some of our masking efforts, our musicians wearing a mask while enjoying making music, and you notice that even their instruments are masked in the picture. So here's some examples. Masks may be removed, for example, when playing basketball, but must be worn while on the bench. They may be removed while actively playing a musical instrument, but must be removed, put back on while waiting for the activity to begin or after it ends. And again, there's no other enhanced measures currently in place at the school level. Indoor curriculum-based programs like health and physical education and music will continue to follow the requirements in place for students and staff, wearing a mask while singing and maintaining as much distance as possible. Elementary students will also be required to stay within their cohort, wearing a mask while participating in indoor sports where they can be worn safely. And masks may be removed during active participation, but must be worn when not actively engaged. The ministry has updated its COVID-19 health, safety, and operational guidance for schools to reflect this direction, as well as to align with other health and safety measures in the Ministry of Health's interim guidance for schools, childcare, Omicron surge. We're updating the reopening guide for Rainbow Schools to reflect these changes. And just a quick look at the most recent numbers reported by Public Health. This is Thursday, February 3rd to February 9th. and you see there was still significant numbers of cases, and you see the total number of cases to date, and approaching 54% for 5 to 11-year-olds in vaccination. And for those who like the visual, here's a graph. So just as an FYI, there are more school-based vaccination clinics scheduled. You'll recall that these clinics are part of the province's approach to increasing vaccination rates among 5 to 11-year-olds. These clinics are being offered in schools where parents return a signed consent authorizing vaccination during school hours. Remind everyone that vaccination is voluntary. And here's a sample of the consent forms that we sent home. No student will be vaccinated at school-based clinics without a signed consent form. And just to look at some of our upcoming clinics, there's a total of 21 of them. We work with public health to schedule these. Some of our schools are able to host clinics in gymnasiums that have a separate entrance from the school. Clinics at these sites will offer vaccines for staff, students, caregivers, and the public during the school day and into the evening. Parents and the public will only have access to the clinic from the exterior entrance to the gymnasium door. There will be no access to the rest of the school granted. And where there's not a dedicated separate entrance directly into the gymnasium, school clinics will not be open to the public or caregivers during the day, but they will be or may be open depending on the scheduling of public health after school hours. And these are the last of the clinics that are scheduled to this point. Some schools may receive a smaller number of consent forms, but Public Health Sudbury District's mobile team will visit the school to ensure the students who have signed consent forms are vaccinated. So shifting gears, given that yesterday was Valentine's Day, I thought I'd take this opportunity to share a few school updates to warm our hearts. Let's begin with R.L. Beatty Public School, where students made heart-shaped snow structures to send their love to the community. I also have an update on the Kindness Ninjas from Larchwood Public School. 3 years ago, this stealthy group of 4 and 5-year-olds made headlines locally, provincially, and nationally for random acts of kindness. What began with a bag of Smarties shared with schoolmates quickly turned into a wave of kindness that rippled throughout the school, the community, and well beyond. Some of us received manuals on how to be a kindness ninja, and I must admit it was a school visit that I will never forget. Thinking about it to this day still brings a smile to my face, which you can't see through my mask, but I assure you I still have my headband. The Kindness Ninjas are still going strong, and I've invited Principal Elizabeth Mack and kindergarten teacher Natalie Taylor to join us for an update. Principal Mack?
Thank you, Director Bourget. It is my pleasure to be in attendance this evening. Hello to everyone. We are fortunate to get the benefit of having these tiny kindness ninjas around us every day. We're very fortunate at Larchwood to have a culture that is just full of kindness and caring, and this is through the hard work of our staff and students. The goal at our school supports, what we see in our board's vision, that not only do we want to reach academic goals, but that's important to teach students about the power of our actions, that everyone can have an impact. One small person can have a big difference. And this is best illustrated by our youngest, most stealthy students in the school, and those are our kindergarten kindness ninjas. So I'd like to introduce you to Natalie Taylor. Natalie is our kindergarten teacher and the driving force behind our kindergarten kindness ninjas, as well as the overall kindness movement that is occurring at Larchwood Public School.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Mack. The Kindness Ninjas program, like she said, is my baby. I started it because I really wanted to create a positive learning environment. And we often tell students to be kind, but we don't really explain to them what it feels like, what it sounds like, and what it looks like to be kind. And that's exactly what we've done for 3 years in kindergarten each day. And each day, the students, with one simple act of kindness, not only change their day and fill up their heart, but those that they actually those that receive that act of kindness. And over 3 years, the impact, not only in my classroom, where we're focusing on positivity every day, which has opened them up to be really open to learning. It's created, like Mrs. Mack said, a really positive school environment, because each student that is touched with this kindness feels loved, seen, and appreciated, and feels part of our kindness movement, but also a stronger community connection with those we've been able to connect with within our community. I can't say it better than our small ninjas, which you will very soon see a video of. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Mack.
And I have to tell you, I want to say thank you to Director Bourget and to Nicole Charette for, I think, a good, healthy reminder for us of where our students have come, because with everything that's going on, we have really, we've come to kind of expect this lovely kindness, but to see that it's lasting amongst our students, and that was what we're going to see in this video. You're going to see two of our students that were our original ninjas, Dane Pacey and Samantha Cunningham. She goes by Sam. They are some of our original ninjas, and now they're in grade 3. So I invite you to enjoy this video.
There's a reason why we're wearing the red handbands, because we are the kindness ninjas. Kindness ninjas help animals, old seniors, and other people and animals. Calvin, tell me, what acts of kindness have you done to spread love? And it can't be today. You don't know? I already know. I made a rainbow card for the middle school. Okay, thank you. Moving on.
Today I'm talking with Dane Pacey, who's now in grade 3 at Larchwood Public School. Dane, I'd like to ask you why you think the Kindness Ninja program is important.
I think it is so that other people who are just starting to be a kindness ninja can get ideas to make the world a better place.
And what did you learn from becoming a Kindness Ninja?
Treat people like you want to be treated and always be kind.
And what are you doing these days to keep spreading kindness?
Right now, I'm starting to make lots of things for different people in my neighborhood so I can give it to them.
And do you have any advice for our new ninjas?
Always be kind and never be mean.
What does it mean to be a kindness ninja?
You be kind and spread love and spread kindness to make the world a better place.
And what are you guys doing to make the world a better place?
Well, our first act was my idea. After our kindness elves gave us Smarties, my idea was to share them with the whole entire school.
I'm here with Sam Cunningham, who's now in grade 3 at Larchwood Public School. Sam, could you tell me why you think the Kindness Ninja program is important?
Because if you be rude to someone, it makes you feel bad and it makes them feel bad and they make other people feel bad. It's like a virus that spreads. But when you do kindness, it's also like a virus, but a very good virus. It makes everyone happy and it makes you feel good inside.
And what are you doing these days to spread kindness?
I'm sharing my toys. I'm always worried about other people. Like if they're lonely, I'll go say, "Are you okay?" Or "Do you want to come play?" Being a kindness ninja isn't just something for school. It's something that you can do at home. You can do kind deeds at home. It doesn't just have to be at school. There's a reason.
So I'd like to thank Ms. Taylor, Ms. Mack for being part of our evening. Certainly, Sam's words hold true. Let's hope that the Kindness Ninja virus becomes the new dominant strain and takes over from all the pre-existing ones, because that's certainly a kindness pandemic would be a great one to live through for the next foreseeable future. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. And not only tonight, for all the amazing work you continue to do. you know, that leadership and that energy within your school. I've witnessed it firsthand, and I look forward to visiting again to see the newest version of Kindness Ninjas. But it's very important that you share all the good work you've done, and certainly you brought smiles to everyone's face through your efforts to promote kindness in your school. So thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's our pleasure.
So trustees, next we'd like to take you to Algonquin Road Public School, where teacher Lindsay Clary is motivating her students to make a difference as well. Lindsay Clary is joining us this evening, along with Principal Trevor DeWitt and Vice Principal Eric Catano. And I'd like to invite Principal DeWitt to say a few words to set the stage for a video that he will share with you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Director Bourget, for that invitation. I do feel a little bit sidelined. In a presentation, you never go after the kindergartens. They're just way too cute to try and compete with, but we will do our best. So good evening, everyone, and so let me set the stage for you here. At Algonquin, we've been working very hard on creating brave spaces for our students, where students are able to be themselves and to be seen by their teachers. And that work was definitely supported on the first PD days that we had at the beginning of the school year. Lindsay starts these brave classrooms by establishing what we can call high performance student-teacher relationship. And Lindsay does this by genuinely caring about her students. She definitely cares about the learning, and she presses her students to excel. It's easy to say, but so much harder to do. If you're not vulnerable yourself, which Lindsay is brave in the work that she does. She does this intuitively by developing a warm environment for her students, using empathy and being present. She is a model of what we want our daring classrooms to look like, and it is working. Just to be clear, this classroom is just like many other classrooms in our board. It has significant learning, social, and behavioral needs that Lindsay is able to address and support. She does this, though, often by connecting before she's ever correcting students, and that goes a long way towards building community. Furthermore, because of the high performance student-teacher relationship, she's able to utilize high-focused intervention strategies, and students engage at a very high level. You're going to see some great jumps and some reading marks in this video, and that's just because the students have bought in and are giving their best. During these unprecedented COVID times, building skills of resilience and grit are more important than ever. And Lindsay recognizes this and utilizes many tools from her growth mindset toolbox to build gritty kids. And again, I need to stress that this is done in a warm, trusting environment. You will see in this upcoming presentation that it is lighthearted manner with lots of smiles. If you can indulge me a little bit further, I'd just like to elaborate on how Lindsay is developing resilience in her classroom. This year, we've learned there are 5 core traits to resilience: belonging, perspective, acceptance, hope, and humor. Lindsay creates an environment where students belong. They are part of the home team. They feel that they are part of something better, and they want to contribute and be part of that. Something like adding a donut to a donut chart. Lindsay makes sure her students feel acknowledged, seen, and loved. Perspective. She understands that sometimes our brain might have some negative thoughts creep in it, and those negative voices might be deterring us from doing that hard work. And we also know that we have some things called a gut feelings, or your heart can yearn for different things. When we're thinking whole, using our whole body, and we're listening to everything, we have a balanced viewpoint. We can identify some of those negative thoughts. We can flip those flops, and we can add the power of yet to start making things more successful. Acceptance is not necessarily just being accepted in that classroom, which the students are. It's accepting that this is going to be hard work, that we might have some gaps in our learning, that we might be behind. And instead of focusing on some of the why questions, Lindsay gets right into the how and the what questions. And she creates some focused interventions to help our students. Her students understand that the goals that they have set for themselves are going to be some challenging work to do. They see the pitfalls, they see the struggles, but they're definitely willing to put in that work. We must all remember that there's no neurological difference between those who give up and those who get up. It all comes down to grit. She does have a hope-filled classroom, very positive and outgoing. Students are able to see a better future for themselves. And the last one, which I do think is underrated, but is definitely so important, is humor. Lindsay's used appropriate humor. It demonstrates her own self-acceptance, her own self-confidence, and her own empathy towards others. The act of laughing does so many things, blocking those pain receptors, getting our heart rate up, improved mood, tons of different muscles in our body are going. And this is a great way to be learning in the classroom. We can take a breath and we can get back to that high performance learning, which our students are able to do. We were very proud of the staff at Algonquin Road Public School as we continue to work alongside each other, always finding ways to lift each other up. And we're doing this while we're striving as a student-centered learning environment where personal and academic growth are the key. Without further ado and hoopla, I'm very happy to show you this presentation and see if you can make the connection between starfish, alpacas, tigers, and donuts. Please enjoy.
Classroom environment is like my most important thing. I feel like if you can have a beautiful classroom environment where the kids are excited to learn, they feel safe, they want to take risks, they're there and they're ready to learn, and they're not afraid to make mistakes. In fact, we celebrate them and show how we can grow from them. Then I feel like everything else falls into place. Something that I learned a long time ago, that when you're setting that classroom atmosphere, it's important that the kids play a huge role in setting out those expectations for the class. And I have high expectations for our students because I know they can meet them. And the funny thing is they have even higher expectations for themselves. We read this starfish poem probably the first or second day of school, but we worked with it for a whole week and we really dove into it. And so that poem has just stuck with me forever. And I think if we can have that mentality of one little thing makes one little difference to somebody, then that changes us, right? And that changes the kids. And so that's kind of the root of where we got this from. Positive reinforcement is my jam. That is what I feel kids respond to best. And so I'm always trying to look to celebrate the good. And so every Friday we have our Starfish Student of the Week, and it's part of our announcements. What we do is like, our Starfish student is, and I describe the person and we highlight what they did. And the next slide, we show their picture and we all clap and they're all proud of their friends for doing it. Then they get Al the alpaca, my funny little puppet, and then they get some starbursts because they're stars. The donut chart was just to kind of encourage the kids and recognize when they're wowing me, because they do work so hard. And like, honestly, by like the third week of school, they knew the routine, they had it down pat, they were so respectful and so positive. And I just want to encourage that positivity and really kind of push that forward. I never put them up on the chart. I get the kids to, because I want them to take ownership of it. So I'll just say things like, okay, Romeo, can you please go put a donut up on the donut chart? Or, you know, just quietly. And the kids are like, yes. You know, they're so happy. And I made super high expectations for them to do that. You guys are here. Everybody walked in. I did not have to tell one person to get out a book and read. Everybody walked in, sat down in a seat, got out a book, and is reading. And so that's what I'd say. Okay, you go put a donut up there. Because they've like filled in their incentive program with the donuts, we're like, okay, we need to plan this trip to go to Tim Hortons. And so I was like, okay, so what day are we going to go? And we're planning it together. And the kids are like, can we bring our alpacas? I was like, yes. So that's kind of where we're at. And we're going to do that next Friday.
So we'd like to thank Principal DeWitt, Vice Principal Catano, and our dynamic teacher, Lindsay Kolari. Certainly, Principal DeWitt, you said it was a tough act to follow, and I would say both acts were equally amazing. So thank you both to both groups for presenting. And trustees, I'll remind you that throughout the pandemic, we have promoted kindness, patience, and gratitude. And as always, we thank our students, staff, families, and our school communities for our work together to keep everybody safe, learning, and moving forward in their educational journey. And with that, I'll close our presentation for tonight, and happy to take any questions or comments that you have.
Judy Honda.
Thank you, Chair Clement. Through you to Director Bourget and all the amazing presenters tonight. I can't honestly remember the last time I enjoyed a presentation more than the one that we just did. And from the bottom of my heart, I know that I'm leaving here feeling really uplifted. It just goes to show the amazing things that our staff are doing during such trying times. And this is what the students need. And I'm going to tell you, some of the things that we do at this table can get tedious and boring and important and stressful, but a presentation like tonight is something that does this old girl's heart really good. I want to thank you so very much for that. Wonderful.
Thank you. Anybody else have a comment? Dina?
Well, will certainly support every positive comment and every comment of appreciation for our presenters tonight. So I want to ditto those comments. Thank you. My question is a bit more to practical matters, and through you, Chair Clement, to Director Bourget. Just wondering, Bruce, if you are able to give us sort of a system level summary of staff impacts as a result of increased enrollment in virtual learning. How many teachers in positions were impacted? Thank you.
Through you, Chair Clement, I can tell you that there was tremendous hard work and collaboration between our elementary and secondary principals and Tiffany Hayes, our manager of human resources. Lots of work was done to establish and reorganize elementary schools to have 8 teachers transition from various schools into the remote learning program to accommodate the additional students who selected remote for the second half of the year, and 4 teachers from our secondary panel as well. So in total, 12 teachers moved from in-person to remote, and we can't thank them enough. We know that it is an unexpected change and certainly some adjustments. Appreciate their resilience and understanding, because their contribution to this also created the possibility for us not to have to transition to a hybrid learning environment. So they are definitely not only working on behalf of students in their class that they are supporting currently, but students across the board, and they should be commended for that, because their willingness to take on this challenge with less notice than would be ideal has created the opportunity for us to avoid the hybrid learning environment. And I think that by and large, the vast majority of our staff and students greatly appreciate that we didn't have to go down that road. So not that it was, anything that we're trying to optimize our learning. I'll say it at that, and by avoiding a hybrid situation, we feel we're serving our students best at this time. So I just want to thank them for that. As I answer your question, I also want to give a compliment to those teachers who made this change in the middle of the year.
Thank you, Director Bourget.
Thank you very much. Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Clement. I want to begin my comments by thanking Principal Mack and Ms. Taylor. It certainly has been exciting to watch the Kindness Ninja program, and I'm sure it must be very exciting and very fulfilling for them to think that in a few short years, they'll have a whole school full of ninjas, right? We're well on the way. And then thinking even further down the track, those ninjas will go to different high schools, they'll go out into the world, and those tentacles will go all over the place. So that's definitely a great program to hear about. And I also wanted to thank Principal DeWitt and Ms. Kalari. I knew we were going to see something special when I listened to Principal DeWitt, because I could hear the admiration in his voice for Ms. Kalari. So I could hear it came through loud and clear. So that was lovely to see that level of support and teamwork happening in our schools. And a school I'm very familiar with, and I've seen it with my own eyes, but it's just great to share it at a board meeting. So thank you to Director Bourget for bringing those real world stories into our meetings. I really appreciate that. And then lastly, I have a question for Director, through you to Director Bourget, probably to Superintendent Superintendent Noble, just regarding the virtual school, the high school students. I was just wondering how many students approximately are participating in e-learning programs. So that would be programs run through the ministry, but I believe they have a local teacher attached, but it's a completely virtual program, and that would have been available before the pandemic, just to be clear which program I'm talking about. Can you just perhaps give some further information on that?
Through you, Chair Clement, thank you for your kind comments. I'll turn things over to Superintendent Noble in just a second, but I will share my appreciation for your kind words, and also let you know that I will have a brief update in my comments later around the graduation requirement for e-learning, which is separate from your question, I realize, but just to provide clarity, Superintendent Noble, I know, is well versed in the ongoing e-learning we've been doing as a system, so I'll turn the floor to her at this point. Thank you.
Through you to Trustee Gibson, thank you very much for the question. I do not have at my fingertips at this time the number of students who are currently enrolled in this semester's selection of e-learning courses, but if you like, for our next meeting, I can provide you with that information.
Thank you. That would be fine, or even by email is fine. Yeah, I'm just trying to get an understanding of whether there's a lot of people doing courses that way, and I'll probably get some more context from Director Bourget, it sounds like, in his comments coming later. So thank you.
Okay, any more questions? I see none. Director Bourget, I just want you to make sure that, and I'm sure they're hearing that, is a big thank you to the staff in recognizing that the kids have gone through heck the last couple of years, and that coming to school, the kids should feel safe and happy when they come to our schools, and these staff certainly do that. And if they could have seen all the smiles I'm looking on the screen, I think I saw a tear or two. So thank you very much to all. I think we'll go to, was there something else on that, Director Bourget?
Not at this time, Chair Clement. I just want to concur with you that our staff is absolutely amazing, and you saw evidence of that tonight.
For sure, thank you. We'll go to number 3 then. Tenders, requests for proposals. So we have a motion. Does somebody want to speak on this before?
Thank you, Chair Clement. I will just make a few comments, if I may. Good evening, everyone. So this evening, this tender relates to the repair of 2 sets of concrete stairs that are located on the backside of Llewellyn Secondary School. The funding source for this is from our school renewal capital funding. Our facilities department has confirmed that they have no hesitation in awarding this contract to the lowest bid received, as we have received many bids. There are 8 listed, and the tender record form was sent to all trustees via email earlier this afternoon as well. So thank you very much, and look forward to approval of this motion.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Bazinet. Do you want to read the motion, or should I?
Thank you. I can. I have it in front of me here. So the motion that the board award the contract for Llewellyn Park Secondary School stair replacement tender number 2022-02 to Raisbeck Construction Incorporated for $187,480.
Thank you. And for that, we need a mover, please. Judy Cosmerly, Trustee Cosmerly, and a seconder, Dina Morrison. Any questions on this bid? I see none. Poll vote, Director Bourget.
Trustee Clement.
In favor.
Trustee Dewar.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor?
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean,
In favor.
Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao.
In favor.
It's unanimous. Chair Clement.
Thank you, Director Bourget. We're going to number 4, reports and recommendations from board committees. I see none. If we go to 4A, Strategic Planning Committee, we have a motion there. Can somebody read the motion or describe what this is about?
Thank you, Chair Clement. I'll step in as it relates to capital funding once again. Trustees will recall we had the presentation at the Strategic Planning Committee level, and from there, this motion is moving forward to the board for consideration and approval. If I may, I will just read the motion, Chair Clement. Motion that the board allocates supplemental capital funding from the proceeds of disposition reserve to complete the construction of the new JK to 6 French Immersion Elementary School in New Sudbury as recommended by the Strategic Planning Committee.
Thank you. We need a mover, please. Trustee Morrison. And a seconder, Trustee Stringer. Any questions? Trustee Gibson.
Thanks, Chair Clement. I wasn't sure if you could see me. My camera froze there for a minute. Thank you, Chair Clement. Through you to Superintendent Bazinet. Because there is not a dollar amount in the motion, can you just explain, will you come back with a dollar amount motion at some point, or just the purpose of a general motion like this?
Thank you. Through you, Chair Clement. At the presentation at Strategic Planning, the estimate at the time that the motion was put forward was $2.2 million.
Thank you.
Sorry, just supplementary if I may. So we do have a dollar amount. So what was the rationale for not including the dollar amount in the motion? I was looking more at the why.
Yeah, if I may, through you, Chair Clement, is essentially these are estimated at this time. They can vary slightly either way, over or under. At the time of the discussion at strategic planning, I recall a little bit of discussion that we could or not include the dollar value, and it was decided to leave it open-ended because of still there's an element of uncertainty at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. So could I just, one last point of clarification. So we can expect to see another motion, or you'll just act from this general motion? I'm just wondering if it's going to come back to the board at some point.
Thank you. We would be bringing it back more in the form of an update in terms of information at the time of occurrence, which is estimated to be either late in the current fiscal year or into next fiscal year.
Thank you. And so correct me if I'm wrong, then the upper limit of what you could spend is the amount that's in that reserve, the proceeds of disposition. Is that correct?
And at, yes, through you, Chair Clement, at this time, the limit is $1.1 million. And it is, of course, subject to change with the sale of any future properties.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? I see none. We need a mover, please. Trustee Morrison?
Chair Clement, I think you have a mover and a seconder.
Oh, did I get those already?
Yes.
We had a mover and a seconder. I moved, and I think it was Trustee Stringer who seconded.
Oh, that's right. We went to questions, didn't we? Got it. Okay. Now we need a poll vote. Director Bourget.
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Dewar,
In favor.
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor?
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean,
In favor.
Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao.
In favor.
It's unanimous.
Thank you very much. I will go to B, 4B, Labor Relations Committee. Would Trustee Morrison like to speak on this before we move the motion?
I could briefly, if you want me to, Trustee Clement, but I think the motion is pretty self-explanatory. And I've explained it to trustees at previous meetings. But the fact of the matter is we recognized a governance flaw in that we have our director to OPSPA who was not on the Labor Relations Committee. And because of the links to central bargaining, the Labor Relations Committee felt it was important to expand our membership to include the OPSPA director for this year.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have a motion that the board expand the Labor Relations Committee to include the OPSPA director as a member of the remainder of the year and to include on the committee going forward at the December organizational meeting as recommended by the Labor Relations Committee. I need a mover, please. Trustee Morrison and a seconder. Trustee Stringer. Any questions? I want Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Clement. Through you to Trustee Morrison. How many trustees, what will be the makeup of the committee once this extra trustee is added? In terms of how many trustees and who else is on the committee?
Well, I think as it stands right now, although I'm hesitant to respond because the executive of the board will determine that before our organizational meeting in December. But the way it would stand would be 5 trustees, one of whom will be the OPSPA director.
Supplementary, if I may, but don't we already have, so we only have 4 trustees at the moment? Because when I went to look up the committee, it was a little confusing. When I looked in different places, it had a different number of trustees. So I was trying to tie down that figure as how many trustees is it supposed to be? Because I remember there being some concerns about the committee having too many trustees in that they were the majority, if that rings any bells.
No, I'm quite well aware of what you're getting. But again, I wanted to say it's not up to me. It's up to the executive committee, the chair and the vice chair and our director and our superintendent of business who will determine this before our organizational meeting in December. But the actual makeup of the committee as it stands right now is 5 trustees. What the Labor Relations Committee has realized is that we need one of those 5 to be the OPSPA director. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification. But at this point, no one's leaving the committee, so there'll be 6 trustees for a temporary amount. That's what I'm trying to clarify.
Yes, there'll be 6 trustees until the December organizational meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I see none. A poll vote, director.
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee Dewar,
In favor.
Trustee Gibson,
Abstain.
Trustee Hunda,
Sorry, in favor.
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor?
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean,
In favor.
Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. Under new business number 2, Ontario Student Trustees Association Board Council Conference. We have a motion that the board approve the attendance of Student Trustee Yao at the virtual OSTA AACO WECTA Board Council Conference, February 18th, 19th, 22.
Excuse me, Chair Clement, you missed the new business, the school year structure.
Yes, I did. I jumped the gun. Director Bourget. Number 1, school year structure.
Thank you, Chair Clement. There's a motion on the agenda, as you can read it, that the board approve the 2022-2023 school year structure for elementary and secondary schools.
Thank you very much. I have a mover, Trustee Morrison, and a seconder, Trustee Doer. Questions, please. Trustee Morrison.
Through you, Chair Clement, to Director Bourget, I wonder, Bruce, if you wanted to mention ETFO having to give approval for this year's school calendar.
So the actual calendar is embargoed, for lack of a better term, until a joint release of all 4 boards, which would occur on February 23rd, pending approval from all 4 boards. And each board is in their process of having this vote that we're having tonight. But just as a bit of background, we do have a committee of the board for school year calendar. It's represented with a combination of union representatives, teacher representatives, trustees, and we went through the process to approve a calendar, and it was also agreed upon with all of our coterminous boards. The reason why that's important is because we also share transportation, so it is important to utilize those efficiencies by having a similar calendar. And yes, there is a component that required some ETFO approval, because there is a clause in the terms in the collective agreement for ETFO that's with regard to the number of PD days that can occur prior to the beginning of the first day of school. And we did have agreement with ETFO on that regard, and we thank ETFO for their cooperation in that. But the calendar contents itself are, you can see in your backup, but the actual calendar details would be shared as all boards approve. We wouldn't want to publish the details just in case that there's not a calendar approval on one of the other boards, which would require us to have more discussions. So there are some pieces to that that are somewhat embargoed. I know it's an interesting process, but we're asking you to approve the calendar as it stands. It is compliant with all ministry directives, including one of their late changes to request a PD day on a certain day in the fall.
Thank you, Director. Any more questions? Seeing that I jumped the gun, did I get a mover and a seconder for this motion? Or was that one before? I need a mover then for this one.
I think I moved this one already, Bob.
That's what I'm asking. Was it Trustee Morrison and Trustee Doer?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
full vote, Director, please.
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Doer?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Honda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee Morrison?
In favor.
Trustee St. Jean?
In favor.
Trustee Stringer?
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao?
In favor.
All are in favor. Chair Clement.
Thank you, Director. Now we can move on. I'm sure Trustee Yao has been on pins and needles here so we can get to his motion. Okay, that the board approve the attendance of Student Trustee Yao at the virtual WECTA Board Council Conference February 18th and the 19th, 2022. A mover, please. Trustee Honda. Write that down here. A seconder. Judy Cosmerly. Any questions? I see none. Poll vote, please.
Trustee Clement?
In favor?
Trustee Doer?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Honda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee Morrison?
In favor.
Trustee St. Jean?
In favor?
Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
Student Trustee Yao.
In favor.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Director. We have number 3, a request for leave of absence. Will we include maybe Linda on that? Okay, that Linda Bostegay be granted leave of absence from the February 15th, 2022 board meeting. A mover, please. Trustee Stringer. Seconder, please. Trustee Dewar. Any questions? Trustee Honda.
I have no questions about that. I just want to apologize that I was late and that I hope that that will be changed in the attendance at the beginning, and I apologize for that, or else I'd be asking for this as well. Thank you.
I think Director Bourget will fix that up.
Okay, thank you.
You nodding yes, we're all set. Okay, poll vote, please. Director Bourget,
Trustee Clement,
in favor?
Trustee Dewar,
In favor?
Trustee Gibson,
In favor?
Trustee Hunda,
In favor?
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor?
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean,
In favor?
Trustee Stringer,
In favor?
Student Trustee Yao.
In favor.
It's carried.
Thank you, Director. And back to you, Director. Director's remarks.
Thank you, Chair Clement. I've had several comments tonight, so I'll keep my comments brief, but I do want to provide a few updates. First, I'll address a little bit more detail than I had planned based on Trustee Gibson's comments, our question around e-learning. So all of our schools do engage in e-learning programs. Schools are asked to provide at least one section of e-learning per school. Some schools provide 2 sections. So across our system, we have a variety of courses, over 10 courses that students may select to engage in an e-learning experience. It's also a shared e-learning system we've developed quite some time ago. I can remember back to my student success days of the Northern e-learning Consortium, where we share some seats, and this has been a tool for us to provide some electives that students may not get through their program and have some more variety. And we share seats with other schools and other boards, and then we also get seats in some of their courses. So this is an existing practice, and I know that Superintendent Noble will bring back some statistics at a meeting about how many students are typically engaged, but I can tell you that we offer over 10 courses per year in this regard. So this has been a long-standing practice for us. However, I do want to provide in our update my remarks tonight just a little bit of new information, because the Ministry of Education has introduced a new graduation requirement, and students who entered grade 9 in 2020-2021 must earn 2 online learning credits to obtain their graduation diploma. So 1 secondary school credit completed in 2020-2021 during the period of remote learning from April to June has been deemed as earned as part of this 2 credit graduation requirement. So these are our students in grade 10. So based on their experience last year with the long flip to remote, the Ministry of Education has decided that they have earned 1 of the 2 credits required. So this year, the grade 10 students will be invited to complete a survey the week of February 28th to indicate their interest in taking an e-learning course for the following school year, because they will need 1 more to graduate. The Ministry of Education has provided option for parents, guardians, and students to choose to not participate in online learning, and students who choose not to, because they can opt out of this requirement, may complete an opt-out form as part of the survey. So there's a tremendous amount of work to be done in this regard. I thank Superintendent Noble and her team for for their leadership with this and principals who are working actively on this. These have been part of discussions the past week in terms of planning, because as you know, we're already in our part of the year where we're planning for next year. Soon we'll be looking at enrollment and staffing and the planning of courses and timetabling. So this is timely. It would have been nice to know a little earlier, I will tell you from the ministry, but it is timely news. So we're working hard to put that in place for our grade 11 students, because they'll be required to have one course for next year. And I will also tell you that we are looking at senior courses for this, because we think the success rates and the maturity level of the students will lend to a better experience in this option. So we'll have more information to come on that regard. I see Trustee Morrison has a question.
Go ahead, Trustee Morrison.
Through you, Chair Clement, to both Director Bourget and Superintendent of Business Bazinet. I see this as a forewarning for a drop in GSNs, because the whole purpose they were doing this for the online courses was to reduce the number of teachers in our schools. So I'm just putting it out there. I'm looking for a warning if this impacts GSNs. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Morrison. I will say that there will likely be some proration of GSNs based on the e-learning component, and I think over time we'll be able to tell you what that impact might be. Right now it's too early to report, but I think there will be some impact on GSNs as a result of this initiative. Trustee Dewar has a question.
No. Trustee Dewar?
Through you, Chair Clement, to Director Bourget. What was that I heard about students can opt out? Would you elaborate on that just a wee bit?
Through you, Chair Clement. Thank you for your question, Chair Dewar. It's Trustee Dewar. It is an option for students that they may feel that this is not the way they want to earn the credit, and there is not a lot of details or requirements to opt out at this point. It is strictly a choice to opt out, as far as we can tell. So students may choose to say that they would prefer to learn face-to-face rather than asynchronously through e-learning, and they simply have to opt out. So we will inform parents, guardians, and students of this choice for the grade 10s going into grade 11 for this year, because that's our focus group for the upcoming school year. Of course, it will evolve into more cohorts going forward, but they do have the option to opt out of an e-learning experience should they feel it's in their best interest. And we do know that some students are, their learning style does not necessarily lend itself to be a strength of e-learning, and they prefer the daily interaction with the teacher and the motivation from that experience and the support to stay on track. So it really depends on the individual learning style, but students who feel like it's not their best option to be successful do have an opt-out clause in this initiative. So we'll make sure to make students aware that that's possible, and then plan accordingly based on the results.
Trustee Honda? I'll come back to you, Trustee Dewar.
Okay.
Yeah, just a follow-up question on that. So then that would have no impact on their eligibility to graduate then? It seems really ambiguous to me. Like, it's a requirement, but yet you don't have to. Like, you know, it's not surprising, I guess, but there would be would there be any alternative something else they'd have to do in place of, as far as we know, or it would be just, no, we're opting out?
Through you, Chair Clement, the information we have at this point is that students are, encouraged by the ministry to do the 2 e-learning credits, but should they opt out, they would earn their graduation requirements through the regular measures and regular course offerings that we would typically provide.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Dewar?
Yes, just as a supplemental, please. I have the fear that Trustee Morrison has kind of alluded to. This e-learning has nothing to do with student success or what is best for students. What it has to do with is a business opportunity and trying to save money. And I do feel that we have to be very, very aggressive when it comes to our students and protective in that we have gone through e-learning. We've had it for the last few years, and we have seen what it does to the learning ability or the capabilities of our students. And I just want to make this clear at this time that we have to be sensitive to this and we have to be very careful. As long as students can opt out, that's fine. The ones that want it can do it, and the ones that don't, if they can opt out. But I'm just saying I would very much appreciate being kept apprised if in fact this moves in a direction that is harmful to students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Dewar. Any more questions? Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Clement. I guess I want to just clarify because my question was about e-learning and the comments from Trustee Dewar there were about online learning. They're different things. So that's why I wanted to get an understanding of how many people actually participate in e-learning as opposed to the pivots that we've had to do because of temporary measures for the pandemic. And I was wondering perhaps if you could answer this question because regarding what Trustee Morrison brought up about the GSNs, because our teachers are, my understanding is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that when a student takes an e-learning course, there is a local teacher attached who is assessing and marking and providing a mark at the end of the semester. But obviously they're given coursework in an electronic format, and that comes from the ministry. And I have seen the quality of some of those courses, and I've personally seen it. There's lots of errors. It's not what I would expect from a piece of software. Let's say if I was using it in a professional setting. So I just want to clarify first around the funding. We must get some funding, I'm assuming, because our teachers are working with the student, albeit remotely. And then secondly, if there has been any information about whether there'll be an upgrading of the materials or the tools that are used to undertake this type of learning, if there's going to be a lot more of it because it's becoming something that's required, albeit with an exemption. Thank you.
Through you, Chair Clement, thank you for all the comments and questions. I would share with you at this point that the concern raised would not be around the fact that there's a teacher attached to the course. I can confirm that our plan is to have a teacher attached to the e-learning courses. The change is in the class size. So the e-learning class size that is shared by the Ministry of Education is 35 students per e-learning course. And that is a rather substantial change to the average class size, which is in the mid-20s, low 20s. So, that is a piece that we will probably be able to give you more details on in terms of impact. But what that does do is there's a prorated source of funding perhaps coming in the GSNs to deal with the e-learning courses offered, where they don't need to be funded at the same rate of staffing because you can put more students in per class. So that's where it will probably have an impact, but it is early, and I can tell you that we will both update you on the impact of that as per Trustee Gibson's questions, and also on any changes in terms of the opt-out if there's new criteria that comes up or new developments. In terms of Trustee Dewar's question, we'll provide updates as we go. It is very early, as I said. And of course, we will monitor how students are doing. But also in a proactive way, I can tell you that Superintendent Noble and her team are also having conversations with principals to work with our current group of grade 10s to have a sense of we're going to respect individual choice, of course, but also to provide some guidance to students about what might be the best option for them, and also whether e-learning is right for them. So hopefully there's going to be some proactive measures as well to help students make great choices to continue their success in their journey towards their diploma.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
I see
Thank you.
Trustee Morrison.
Very briefly, Chair Clement, just as supplementary, I just want to put this simply. I really appreciate that response from Director Bourget, and it's because of that and the confidence I have at staff at all the levels who will work with students to try to encourage them and provide them with the appropriate support and guidance so they're making the best choices. I'm fully confident of that. My fear is when this idea was first floated by this government a year ago, to put it simply, students require 30 credits to get their Ontario Secondary School diploma. If now 2 of those 30 are e-learning courses provided centrally through the ministry, is that going to result in a reduction to our GSNs of that percentage, prorated percentage? Thank you. And I know you'll keep us informed. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Morrison. Any other questions? I see none. Oh, hang on. Trustee Stringer.
Your mic is not on.
Thank you. Just a comment, Chair Clement. I agree also with Trustee Dewar and Morrison. This is nothing to do with students' success, especially when you consider the past 2 years of off and on remote learning. You know, when I think about student attendance, and I know our schools are concerned about students getting used to being regularly in classes and attending. I know there's concern about social interaction skills of students having been in remote off and on, and also concerns about mental health. So I'm hoping that within the next while, this government will come to understand that it's important that our kids are in school. And the benefit from taking an e-learning course is not something that's going to be improving student success likely for children when you take into consideration concerns about attendance, social interaction skills, and mental health, well-being.
Thank you, Trustee Stringer. Any other questions? I see none.
So Chair Clement, I'll just finish with a few quick comments before I move on. There was just a few other pieces, but I will share with regard to Trustee Gibson's comments that we do hope that any ministry provided course content is going to be corrected if there are errors. And to Trustee Morrison's comment, I want to share that we are planning to have our staff provide the e-learning courses through some work and scheduling proactively before the start of next school year. And that will be, I think, a positive for us, and that our staff know our students best, and there's easy for our staff to collaborate within, our school context with guidance counselors and student success teachers and the like to help make sure that this initiative goes as well as possible. I'll leave you with one other thought, that there will be a letter communicating some of these details I've outlined to you, sent out to all parents and guardians, including the options that they have to opt out or to select e-learning, and a bit of information about upcoming timelines. And I'll be sure to provide a copy to all trustees as well once we send it out to parents and guardians, just for your information. And in closing, a few last things in my comments. I would like to thank all staff, all volunteers, all coaches, all club leaders, our athletic administrator, Dave Makala, for their extensive work that's being done to reschedule opportunities in extracurricular activities, whether it be sport, music, band, you name it. There's lots of work rescheduling to put things back online, given the new changes and the new opportunities that come as we continually adjust to some of the reopening layered approaches. So these are amazing opportunities for students to learn and grow through participation in extracurriculars is something we highly value, and we know that it comes at a considerable work at this point to reorganize these things. It's not, the typical schedules have to be modified, new plans have to be made, may involve facility bookings, officials, all types of things that go on behind the scenes, and I wouldn't want us to think that it's just resuming previously adopted schedules. There is rework happening on behalf of our musicians, our student athletes, people in clubs that participate in any events that require coordination. There's tremendous amounts of work going on there. And I just want to thank everybody who takes part in making those opportunities available for students, because right now they're working very hard to create new schedules and new opportunities to complete things like the winter sports season, for example, or other competitions, whether it be online, reach for the top. The list could go on and on. I just want to share that our staff is doing amazing work to get things back on track for students who enjoy these things. And finally, I'd like to thank our staff, our students, our parents and guardians for their hard work, patience, and resilience as we wish everyone a safe and fun-filled Family Day long weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. I just got a signal here that's saying that the internet is going kahooey, and I just can't, right now I can't see anybody. So if you're going to want to put up your hand, whatever, use your hand button. We're going to the next step, other items. OPSPA Director, please. Do you have anything?
I do. I have a few things. We can still see you, Chair Clement, just so you know.
Some of you are popping back up.
I attended the Northern Region Directors meeting on January 28th. The group engaged in consultations regarding labor relations, as well as the OPSPA strategic directions. Their feedback has been shared with OPSPA and will be discussed at the next Board of Directors meeting, which is coming up the 25th and 26th of February as a Zoom call. I just wanted to let you know as well that I had a conversation with some members of OPSPA. When you go on the OPSPA members site right now, there is no current information under the Northern Directors tab. That's going to be changed, and they're going to start putting current information in so that everyone can see what's going on at the Northern table. I also wanted to tell you that I attended a Project Compass Steering Committee meeting on February the 4th. The work of all the subcommittees is now finished, and a final recommendation report was reviewed, and the committee passed a motion to recommend to the Board of Directors that they approve all 41 recommendations. The recommendations include updates to the OPSPA mission, vision, and values, creation of a policy review framework, enhancement of communications to and from trustees, and clarification of roles and responsibilities. The steering committee will continue to meet as required to ensure the implementation of all of the recommendations. And finally, I just wanted to note that applications are now open for the Public Property Assessment Network Scholarship. This is a $1,000 scholarship that will be rewarded to a graduating student in the Northern Region for 3 school years, 2019-20, 2020-2021, and 2021-2022. The deadline for submissions for this scholarship is May the 20th. Information about the scholarship has been sent to all Rainbow principals, and I want to thank Nicole Charette for that. And it's available on the OPSPA website. So to access the information, you go to opsba.org. What do we do? Awards programs, Public Property Assessment Network Scholarship, and search for the Northern Region nomination information. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmony. Trustee Yao, any comments?
Yeah, just a few.
So I guess I'll talk a little bit about what's going on with the Senate. We're just still planning on conference. We're super excited for that. We have a check-in meeting later this week, so I think we're all really excited and eager to get down to business. We have another initiative that we're also pursuing, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later on at our next board meeting when everything's finalized and we're all done. And as for the board council conference, thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to go. I'm really, really excited, and being a part of like the PBC cabinet and the co-chair for the working group. I definitely see this conference is going to be very productive and informative. I'm super excited. It's going to be a lot of just getting together to meet with all these student trustees, and it's really difficult when you're trying to plan a meeting for 20 student trustees who are all very, very busy. So this is a great opportunity to get a lot of work done. So yeah, that's everything for me.
Thank you, Trustee Yao, and good luck with that meeting. Or that conference. Trustees, any remarks or questions? Trustee Morrison.
Thank you, Chair Clement. Just to keep very briefly, just wanted to say, to clarify, I am not opposed to e-learning. In fact, I think most of the trustees on the screen will have experience with the fact that we have students who needed access to e-learning programs in order to be able to complete their graduation requirements, particularly the smaller the schools. The smaller the schools, the fewer options are available, and some kids have no choice, but alongside with the assistance of staff members at the school to enroll in e-learning. So I just want to state that up front. My concern is that this is a money grab to, again, reduce expenditures in the public education system. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say for the record.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Morrison. Any other comments? Oh, I see none. I guess we're coming down to the chair's comments. Give me 1 second. I have a few here with the help of our very capable person, Nicole. Join our team. Rainbow District School Board is currently accepting applications for various teaching and non-teaching positions. To learn more, please visit our website. Join our team. Secondary information nights, please go to your websites. There are 2 more schools will host virtual open houses. That'll be LaSalle and Confederation coming up. And a lot of these, if you ever gone to some of these, are very, very interesting. Well done. They can register anytime by contacting their area school. We adopted our new strategic directions this evening. Let me give you a few examples of how our vision, mission, values, and priorities are coming to life in Rainbow Schools. Students at Chelmsford Valley District School Composite School Elementary made breathing beads for Bell Let's Talk Day. With each exhale, students slide the beads down their bracelet, helping to regulate emotion and distract them when they feel overwhelmed. Kindergarten students from RLBD celebrated Family Literacy Day with a virtual story read by members of the Sudbury Wolves. Grade 2 students from McLeod Public School learned about Chinese New Year, also known as the Lunar New Year. Students at Little Current Public School have been busy making outdoor bird feeders. The grade 4 class at Cyril Varney Public School connected virtually with wildlife scientist Dr. Vanessa Pirota to uncover the secrets of whales. Students in the grade 4-5 class at S. Gagger School paid a virtual visit to Killbear Provincial Park to learn about protecting snakes. At C.R. Judd Public School, grade 5 students mix chemicals to see how they interact as part of their science experiment. Grade 6 students at S. Gagger Public School learned about time in math class. Wisdom keeper Wayne Southwind was presented with a piece of art that caught his eye during one of his many visits to Espanola High School. The art, a swimming turtle by student Maya White, was framed and gifted to him for his commitment to the school. Monthly Charger Character Awards were presented to students at Confederation Secondary School in recognition of attendance, effort, kindness, behavior, academics. And please take note of the following dates. Family Day, February 21st for Family Day. Strategic Planning Committee meetings will take place March 1st. Professional Activity Day will take place for families March 11th. Midwinter break, and something staff and students must really be looking forward to this year. Midwinter break will take place March 14th to the 18th. And at the end, like we've been saying before, we're going to keep up with our tradition here of having a quote and still keeping with the theme of this month is Black History Month. This is the quote of the day. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate. If they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. And adding to that, from the same person, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Nelson Mandela. So with that, we have information and proposals, report from officials and staff, Parent Involvement Committee. What am I thinking here? Okay. Oh, sorry, Judy Cosway.
Just one thing under future meetings for the Equity and Inclusive Education Committee, the meeting date is changed to March 24th at 4 o'clock.
Thank you very much. The Parent Involvement Committee is January 4th. The minutes and Special Education Advisory, January 5th. And future meetings, First Nations, February 17th. Strategic Planning Committees, March 1st. Spec Ed, March 2nd. Environmental Education, March 2nd. Student Senate, March 7th. Board meetings, the 22nd. Parent Involvement Committee, April 12th. And Equity Inclusive, what was that again, Judy?
March 24th.
24th. Okay, thank you very much. So that concludes our meeting for tonight. We need a motion to adjourn, please. Someone? Trustee Doer and a seconder, Trustee Morrison. So having said that, I think it was a really informative meeting. Thank you everybody for attending, and we'll see you at the next meeting.